Can you build a thriving city in City Skylines 2 with 0 hours in the game and not having seen any content about it online? No videos, no guides, nothing. This is what I want to find out today. But firstly, you might ask yourself, why do I even make this video? Easy. I loved City Skylines 1 and I also have an educational background in the topic. Your boy actually has a bachelor in renewable energies with a focus on sustainable urban mobility. I made some interesting life choices, okay? So am I qualified to talk about city planning? No. Will I do it anyways? Yes. And just as a heads up, I was playing an early version of the game, so things can and will go wrong. But with that out of the way, Iron Man, historical... Wait, wrong game. So, step 1, turning the tutorial off. Very important for every Paradox game. I mean, what are they going to teach me? Next, very important, was to scout the area to see what I'm working with. Basically, I wanted to find out where does the wind go, where do I get my water from, and how do I produce my energy. After that was done, I placed down my road network and zoned in the first areas. First residentials, so my citizens had somewhere to live. Then commerce, so my citizens had somewhere to work and somewhere to shop. And lastly, industry to fulfill my citizens' basic need to pollute. Next on my agenda was energy production. And to solve that, I placed down some wind farms because I love noise pollution and I hate birds. They also produce energy. Lastly, I needed to take care of water and sewage. Water was easily solved. My city was next to a river, so I placed down a pump and the problem was solved. Sewage, on the other hand, yes, I see no problem with this. Now, with that out of the way, my people demanded basic healthcare. So I placed down a clinic. This should keep my citizens healthy, and if that doesn't work out, I place a graveyard next to it. Now, the only thing left to do was to unpause the game and let our beautiful city grow. And in no time, the first 100 people were living in our still small but inviting community. First, there was more need for housing, then commerce, and after that was solved, the urge to pollute took over again, and more industry had to be built. This growth has also given me a few development points. And what is that, you might ask me now? Basically, it's a new progress system for City Skylines 2. Because different to City Skylines 1, City Skylines 2 doesn't really care about the amount of population you have anymore. You now unlock new stuff via upgrade tokens gained from level ups, which you achieve by gaining experience. And how do you gain experience? Easy. You build. And what's really interesting about this new system is that it kind of forces you to focus on a few branches at the beginning. I personally decided to focus on trash removal, traffic management, and energy production. This allowed me to build a chunky geothermal power plant, which made me lots of money, thanks to surplus in energy production, and a recycling center, which seemed to be a better solution than just a simple waste dump. And with the city now steadily growing, one problem seemed to be ever growing with it: traffic. Because while my city was growing, my roads weren't. Not really. So I needed something to get my people off the roads and stop clogging them. Easy solution here: buses. They don't need a lot of new infrastructure and can hold many people. The only thing I needed to make sure now is that the ticket price was cheaper than the current fuel price. And because I'm building a European city, this shouldn't be a problem. With less clogged roads now and an overall happy population, my city really started to grow more and more. There was just one small problem: density. Because for some reason, I couldn't raise the need in medium or high density living. So the only thing I could really build was single family households, which sounds fine in theory, but in practice it's very inefficient. Basically, this meant that my city needed more space than I currently was allowed to build on. And at the same time, this meant that I needed to build more service buildings for a small amount of people, because of the range limits these buildings have. And to top it all off, this also spread my bus network very thin, because having a less compact and more spread out city meant that I needed to build way more bus stops. Now add all of these factors together, and you can imagine my money situation was not great. I barely made a profit, but thanks to large energy exports, I survived. Over the time, the city grew slowly and steadily, but my income really didn't. But at the end of the day, this didn't really matter to me. My people were happy and the growth was there. The only real downside was that my city looked a bit like a chessboard because I needed to build very efficiently. But then, disaster struck. A new patch came out and reworked the entire economic system of the game. And just like that, my income was gone. And by far, the biggest change was my tax income, which unironically halved. After a little bit of research, I found out that the overall feedback to Paradox was that the game was a bit too easy and they should make it harder for a better experience. This was not good news for me, nor my city. Maybe I should have listened to what the tutorial had to say. So I made a hard choice and restarted. I will count this one as lost due to a higher power, because there was really nothing I could do. Basically, my city was running fine until it wasn't. So, second city, and I have the perfect name for it. And this time, turning the tutorial on. And after playing around with with the tutorial for a little bit, I felt ready to start through and finally build my dream city. The beginning of the city was pretty much the same to the last one. So another residential, commercial and industrial areas. And after that, find a source for energy, water and somewhere to put the sewage. You know what? Shit pipe. Now to create myself some more pocket money, I built a transformer station so I could sell the power to the outside world. Now thanks to all the experience I gained by placing down the infrastructure, I leveled up without having a single citizen. Very cool. Now the time has come to finally unpause the game and let my city develop. The first people built their houses and moved in. The city was growing. The downside of this was once again, it created demand for local services. So I had to put trash disposal, health, security and firefighting on my agenda now. First, trash removal. Here, I wanted to try something different to last game. And because I didn't like the idea of a simple waste dump, I decided to use my first upgrade token to build an incinerator plant. Because you know, you don't have trash if you burn it. This once again created a nice energy overproduction I could sell to the outside world. But sadly, only on a very small scale. On top of that, I noticed that this building was way more expensive than I thought it would be. So I needed a new source of income to kind of compensate for that. The solution? Sell even more energy. So I used my next upgrade points to unlock a geothermal power plant again and use that to balance my budget. It was not positive yet, but way better. Now back to my people's needs. I built a clinic and a graveyard that should solve health. For now. Following that, I placed on a fire and police station. These were expensive but necessary purchases, like every Paradox DLC. And now, with the foundation of my city set, people really started to move in and the community grew. Quickly, a few hundred people turned into a few thousand. And more people of course meant more need for space. So the city needed to expand. And to mix things up, I tried not to build a city that looks like a chessboard again, which kinda only partially worked. Funnily enough, you could see on the squareness of a district how much money I had around the time, meaning every time I had loads of money, I decided to be more creative. But when money was low, I was kind of forced to be more practical and optimize the space I had. Talking about money, this time around, it became quite a problem again. So I had to do something I really avoided up to this point, understanding the economics of the game. This took me quite a while to figure out, because the only thing growing at this point was my city's debt. But I had no time to complain. I needed solutions, and that fast. So the first thing I wanted to find out was my biggest source of expenses. Trash. I already had a problem with that, so I couldn't really touch that. So the next best, public transport. Here I noticed that bus lines were a bit oversupplied. Because most bus lines had maybe 10 buses for 50 people, that was a bit much. So I slided the amount of buses down to a more reasonable number. Next, to fix my budget, I cranked up the taxes, water cost and energy cost. This didn't give me a positive balance, but it bought me valuable time. And you might ask yourself now, how did I actually fix the income? Easy. Exponential growth, subsidized by loans, and something I haven't really talked about yet. The ever-increasing cash injections you get from leveling up. This was the bread and butter of my growing city. And all I had to do to get it was to keep growing. It felt like a Ponzi scheme that actually worked. And after a while, my city became so big that I actually started to make real money without any help from loans or level ups. Just ignore the red number. Cause look, the money goes up. The calculation behind the trend was a bit off in the early version. On hindsight, I have to say I kinda love the new difficulty. It's really hard, especially for new players, to get a city running, but it's so satisfying when you actually start to make money. And with money finally solved, the time to create a big city with the highest living standard has come. First thing on my agenda was a new highway. Why? Because traffic with only one way in or out of the town has become bad. How did the road maintenance vehicle have a car crash now in all of this? Oh my god. So I worked on a new connection with space for future expansion next to my planned downtown area. It wasn't really a downtown yet. And with that out of the way and some more money, I finally was able to build a fully upgraded hospital. This solved healthcare on a big scale. And after some more growth, something really cool started to happen. My first skyscrapers appeared in my inner city. And after hours of work, this was so satisfying to see. To celebrate that and to give my city a heart, I placed down a city hall in the center of my city and made the area around green, so it looks less depressing. And at this point, the city really started to grow. More industry, more energy production, even more highways, more public transport, new districts, a bigger downtown, more education, our own subway system, higher education, a sewage treatment plant, an even bigger downtown, a police headquarters with an integrated prison, a big fire watch, and to top it all off, happy people. And here we are now, hours of my life invested into answering a simple question and now having the answer right in front of me. So can you play City Skylines 2 with no experience in the game? Yes, but turn the tutorial on and pray they don't patch it. And if you're disappointed about my first city's failure, I'll invite you to my Twitch channel today, where I will try to save the first city. And because some of you might be interested in my review about the game, I will write a comment and pin it below. As always, my supporters, I love you. Until next time, bye.